Good morning, folks. This is Bill, known as Bill 2001, on the Alzheimer's and Mayo Clinic Dementia Caregivers Forums. Today's October 2nd, 2025, and taking another walk, just as yesterday, to commemorate 10 years of caregiving. Actually, today it's 10 years in one day, with no end in sight. And I know a lot of you caregivers out there understand exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, I thought maybe you'd like to take another walk with me. And if we haven't met before, I'm Bill, and I've been taking care of my wife, who has dementia, and has had dementia now for just the past 10 years. It all started on October 1st, 2015, and this is October 2nd, 2025. So we just hit the 10-year mark yesterday, and I've gone through all of the emotions that caregivers go through, denial and all that, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I don't think we go through them all in order necessarily, but we do go through them. Denial is probably the earlier stages, when your loved one is exhibiting some symptoms, but you're justifying it and obviously hoping it's not Alzheimer's or dementia. Anger, of course, appears when you know that's what it is. And I would kind of sometimes replace anger with panic. I think I basically panicked when I realized what was happening. Not quite as sunny today. Yeah, it's still a pretty day, but it's not as bright as yesterday. But bargaining comes along when you're trying to find a way out. I mean, bargaining with God maybe, but also really trying hard to find a solution, working with the medical community and coming up pretty much void. Although finding solutions to practical problems doesn't hurt. In my case, it would be taking the knobs off of the burners on the stove and making sure my loved one doesn't lock me out of the house, things like that. Adult daycare so I can keep working. So I think the bargaining part of it is kind of mixed with logic and finding solutions. I'm going to walk out here again and see if that noisy crane is still going like it was yesterday. The fourth one is depression, and that's a sure thing. I mean, if you're a caregiver of somebody with dementia, depression's going to be a big part of it. You're losing your loved one slowly. They're losing their essence. Their personality is fading. They become flat as far as their personality goes. It's not the person you married. They're not the person you married anymore. That's depressing. You know they're in a terminal situation. That's depressing. Traveling becomes harder, if not impossible, with the onset of incontinence or combativeness and confusion and fear. That's depressing. The downward trajectory of the disease, watching your loved one decline extremely slowly, that's depressing. So depression is a big part of it. And my doctor a few years ago wanted to prescribe me with antidepressants. So I took them for a few weeks, and it didn't help. I mean, I think it numbed me a little bit, but other days I had like this rage and anger that I had never felt before, and I called the doctor and said, you know, this is just smoke and mirrors. It's not fixing my wife's condition. It's not helping me at all. So let's just stop with the cover-up. So if medication helps you as a caregiver, that's great. But I didn't find it helpful at all. I'm the kind of person that wants to solve the problem and not just cover it up or cope. I want to solve it. And overall, dementia and Alzheimer's can't be solved. There's no cure. All they can do is slow it down a little bit with medicine at first, but it's going to do what it's going to do. So my problem-solving skills amounted to dealing with her symptoms, making the best of a bad situation. So earlier on with her condition, I was worried about her keys and her wallet, so I got those tiles, those little Bluetooth tiles. It solved a problem. It really did. It solved a problem. And that really helped for a year or two. You know, you get to the point where you don't even want your loved one to carry keys anymore or wallet. But, you know, all these little solutions will help you get through each stage and manage it better. It's not going to solve the whole thing. It's not about the war. I mean, you're going to lose the war. Your loved one is dying, okay? Alzheimer's and dementia are terminal. So it's not about the war, but it's about each battle. And there's some battles you're going to lose. But there are some you'll win. I took the knobs off the burners on the stove. I mean, now my wife is in stage 6. She doesn't even know what the stove is. She doesn't even know it's there, so it's not a problem anymore. But earlier stages, she would try to turn the burners on. I just took the knobs off. Problem solved. Simple solution. Earlier on, in the really early stages, you know, you put notes up. You know, the date, the calendar, you circle it, you put it up on the cabinet so she sees it. You know, you set timers. You get cameras, security cameras. So if your loved one tries to leave the house or wanders off, you get notified. You get a notification on your phone. I mean, use technology. Those will help you win some battles. So I'm a big advocate for using technology to help you as a caregiver win some battles. And not just technology, but also products. When your loved one starts with the urinary incontinence, you know, go for the Depends, go for the pull-ups, and get the good ones. Don't get the cheap brand, get the good ones. It's worth it. For my wife, it's the Always brand. They work really well for daytime use. They're comfortable for her. In her mind, they're underwear. And then for sleeping at night, I use the Tena overnight, and they work wonders. I mean, if she, when I you know, when we change them in the morning, they did their job. And they're not cheap. I think I get a pack of 14. I think a 14 pack of the 10 overnight ones are 20 bucks. So, but if you buy them in bigger lots, you can probably get them cheaper. I get them from Carewell. I get a case of 56, which is 4 packs of 14 for about 70 bucks, $75 for that. So they're still over $1 each, but it's worth it. You get the cheap ones and you have a mess on your hands. Your loved one is uncomfortable. Your loved one's skin starts breaking down. Your loved one gets a UTI. You don't want any of that. Well, it is pretty now from this way. That's the pretty part. A little quieter than some of the other ones, so I can talk to you, hopefully without too many interruptions. But yeah, get the good ones. Another thing I would recommend, a practical solution to win a battle, is cranberry extract. Either like cranberry capsules or powder that you mix into a drink. Cranberry will fight off urinary tract infections or UTIs. A UTI can cause a person to become confused because it is an infection. And the last thing you want for a dementia patient is more confusion. I mean, it can be bad. You can think your loved one is declining faster than they really are. Or in a worst case scenario, your loved one may just have a UTI and may not actually have dementia. But well, I didn't get that lucky. You know, my loved one is definitely in dementia, but she has not had a UTI since I've been giving her cranberry capsules. And I started giving her those in around the pandemic, 2020. So 5.5 years, no UTIs. That's a big deal. And it's a simple solution. You know, the cranberry pills are, what, 10 bucks for a bottle of, bottle of 60 capsules. So 2-month supply is 10 bucks. A UTI could be a trip to the hospital and or worse. So yeah, utilize technology and utilize products to help you win some battles as you go along. Adult daycare, big one. Check them out. Even if you have to drive a little bit. Even if you're retired and you can take care of your loved one 24 hours a day, every day, you can't do that long term. You will burn out if you're not already burned out. You must be burned out. You're here listening to me babble on, right? And so get on the internet or ask around, ask the doctor about some adult daycares. You can do a day a week. You can do a day a month for yourself. You can do 2 days a week. You can do whatever schedule works. The people that work there will get to know your loved one, and your loved one will adjust. I promise you. The first month will be the hardest. When you drop your loved one off and you leave, it's hard. But my wife, when I take her to the daycare, she pushes the button to go in the building and whoop, forgets all about me. She sees her friends there. She sees the staff. She's been going there since 2019. This is 2025. An average of 3 days a week. It's a godsend, and it's not cheap. It's another one of those things that's worth paying for, okay? It can run you $1,000, it can run you $1,500, it can run you $2,000 a month, okay? It's cheaper than a nursing home. It's cheaper than a memory care home. It's a bargain compared to you having a nervous breakdown. So I implore you to look into it. If you're still working as a caregiver, as I am, adult daycare is non-negotiable. I have to have it. you know, when there's days when her daycare is closed for, you know, maybe the air conditioning breaks down, or they have some other problem with the building and they have to close. It's like when your kid's school is closed. I have to call off work or, you know, arrange to work from home that day. And luckily I work from home 2 days a week anyway. That's why my wife can go to daycare just 3 days a week. But sometimes she has to stay home on one of those 3 days too. You take one day at a time. That's another case of battles. You can win the smaller battles. And, you know, when the war is over and your loved one does pass, I'm not there yet, but you will have survived it. You will come out on the other side. Your loved one will have enjoyed more time with you, and she knows you. She trusts you. You're her everything. I can't emphasize that enough. You are her everything. I mean, you feel like she's your everything because she's dominating your life with all the caregiving. But think of it from the other side. I mean, this person relies on you for everything, for their very life, for the air they breathe. You're fighting a battle when you know you're going to lose the war in the end. But, you know, you will have gained memories with your loved one that you otherwise wouldn't have had if you hadn't been strong and logical, problem solver, one day at a time. And yeah, when you're in the thick of it and you're stressed, sometimes it feels like there's just no end to it. And you're like, what's the point? My loved one doesn't even know who I am anymore. I'm tired. I'm tired of work. I'm tired of caregiving. I can't go on a vacation. I mean, like out of town, without arranging for complex care for my loved one. It's just, for most of us, it's not worth the effort. I mean, if you're traveling still and you have found a way to have your loved one looked after, or you take her with you, I respect that a lot. I'm not up to it. My wife is at daycare today. I took another day off work. I'm blessed that I can take a day off work, a PTO day. You know, they used to be called vacation days. And I can still take my wife to daycare. This is one of the 3 days she would be there. But yeah, I took a PTO day. I took what we used to call vacation days. I took one today. This is a day that my wife would normally be at the care center, and I would be working downtown at work. But for 8 or 9 glorious hours today, I have neither caregiving duties nor work duties. So I implore you also to make that happen for yourself. If you're still working and you're burning the candle at both ends and you've been doing it for years and you really can't retire yet, or don't want to, or you're not sure you're ready, and you really do want to just work a little bit more, this is one way to do it, is find care for your loved one that you use regularly anyway, and utilize it when you have a vacation day. And you can do what I'm doing. Find a nearby park and take a walk and babble on to other people about your life. Oh man. I try to be positive. I try to be happy. I'm going to tell you guys, it's hard. Sometimes I have to fake it till I make it. I've had breakdowns. I've had anger. I've had depression, sadness, heartbreak. You know, will I even remember what my wife was like? Will I even remember what my wife was like before the dementia, after she's gone? I mean, I'll give you guys a little math here, okay? We had 19 years together without the dementia, and now we've had 10 years with it. So, what? 2/3 of our marriage was normal, and 1/3 has been within the throes of dementia. And actually, it's not quite as bad as that, because yeah, she's had the dementia for 10 years, but only about the last 6 have been the real intense caregiving part, stage 4 and later. The last 6 years have been stage 4 or 5, and now we're in 6, and I would say late stage 6, with some hints of 7 poking its nose through. But if you go back the full 10 years, you know, when I knew there was a problem was probably around the middle of stage 2, with stage 3 looming. Okay, that's kind of when you know. I mean, there really is no stage 1. Stage 1 means you're normal. Yeah. So stage 1 is more clinical. It really, there's no symptoms. So most of us caregivers will begin our journey in stage 2, maybe even stage 3. Stage 2 is when you know there's something wrong, but your friends and family can't really see it very well. And stage 3, basically everybody can tell. And 4 is the cliff, when you realize, you know, they can't cook safely or drive safely or manage their day-to-day life correctly. They might start putting the wrong clothes on for the season or walk around naked. I mean, just 4 is the cliff. That's where caregivers panic. Now you not only know something's wrong, but now you got to do something about it, okay? Stage 5 brings along incontinence, urine basically, maybe an occasional code brown, but stage 6 brings on the full incontinence, number 1 and number 2. Stage 6 brings on the double incontinence, number 1 and number 2, with some other stuff. But those are the real obvious markers. And the final stage, 7, loss of verbal communication, mobility becomes a big issue, and then just vital systems like being able to swallow or begin to shut down. So, but you can look up the 7-stage model of dementia and read about it. Anyway, today is 10 years and 1 day, and I'm not at home. I'm not sitting around at home. I'm not at work. Just taking a walk. Same place I came yesterday, George Winter Park. I think what'll happen now is, since I've made all these recordings here, probably going to associate this trail with the 10-year mark in my journey as a caregiver. But anyway, I want to encourage you as a caregiver. I know everybody says you got to take care of yourself. I try never to say that, because that comes off as hollow, and you can't, okay, unless you apply some logical solutions to the problems that you're encountering as a caregiver. So yeah, right now you could say I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking a walk in the park. I'm not dealing with my wife's problems for a few hours. I'm not at work dealing with that. So yeah, you could say I'm following that advice and taking care of myself right now. But you can't just go up to a caregiver and say, you got to find time to take care of yourself. What people need to do is give caregivers practical solutions. so that they do have gaps in their day where they can take care of themselves. I mean, I want you to imagine something right now, okay? Imagine that you don't have to take care of your wife for the next 9 hours, okay? You don't have to do that. And you don't have to go to work. You're off today. What would you do? Well, I'm going to take a guess. You'd probably go to the grocery store, and you could probably zip through there fast because you don't have to deal with your loved one. You might go to the garage and have your car serviced, or you might take it to the car wash and detail it. Things that you haven't had time to do. You might do some project around the house, some painting, some repairs. Okay. But if you find enough solutions, to your care for your loved one, you will end up with even more gaps in your caregiving life. And like me today, okay, grocery shopping's done, home repairs are done, took care of the car last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever. I don't have that to do, so I have an honest to goodness gap in my schedule, just like yesterday. And so I'm taking walks. So this is what you would call take care of yourself as a caregiver. But that advice doesn't help. We need practical solutions to problems. And I really wish people, they mean well when they say that, but what would be better is if they would say, I would like to help you find time for yourself. Is there something I can do for you? Can I watch your loved one for a half a day? Or can I come over in the morning and spend the whole day with your loved one and you can get some things done? That would be a practical suggestion. But rarely will people suggest that they help you directly. It's much easier for someone not in this situation to simply suggest that you find time for yourself, that you take care of yourself, without offering help. And they mean well, so you can't just snap back and say, well, why don't you help me? You know, I'd like to say that sometimes, but you can't. Friends don't know what you're going through, not really. Your family doesn't. They kind of see it, but until you're in it 24 hours a day, no one understands. No one understands. So you can throw hints. You know, I'd really like to get my car serviced, but my wife gets real agitated sitting there at the garage. Sure be nice if someone would just kind of sit with her here while I go do that. Maybe they'll take the bait. But I would offer that that's probably not going to happen. Let's be realistic. You're probably not going to get offers for help. So you need to sit down and solve this problem with as much logic and tenacity as you can muster. And if you call the Alzheimer's hotline and tell them your story, tell them where you are in the world, you know, what city you're in and all that, they can find local resources to help you. In my case, it was the Catholics, St. Elizabeth. The St. Elizabeth system has adult daycares. And there is one in Midtown in my city, and it's on the way downtown. Okay, it's about $100 a day, give or take. But I can drop her off. I know that she is cared for, and you know that for that price, she's getting breakfast, she's getting a snack, she's getting lunch, she's getting an afternoon snack, and they help her. They help her, you know, they help her eat, you know, and drink. So it's there's some cost offset there. You know, if she was at home with me, that'd be groceries we'd be using. So there's a bit of a offset to it. I think I'm going to go walk on the other side of the park. Let's go this way. I don't think I've gone this way yet. So yeah, in my case, it's the St. Elizabeth system. They run adult daycares, I think in more towns than just here. So St. Elizabeth, their system, they run adult daycares, but you know, you can always call the Alzheimer's helpline. Also ask your loved one's doctor's office about resources to help you. You know, they may suggest, you know, placement in a memory care home or something like that, but you don't have to go that route. There are many reasons a lot of us caregivers do not wish to place our loved one in a home of any kind until we absolutely have no choice. And I get a lot of pushback on that. I've read a lot of articles that basically say that if you keep putting it off, you know, you're going to do it too late. But what is too late? You know, people, you know, you should have, if you have to ask, I've been told this a lot. If you have to ask if it's time to place your loved one, then it is. That's not necessarily true. And anybody out here listening to me, if you agree with that and you feel like you're in the minority, you're not. If you have people saying that if you have to ask if it's time for placement, then it is time for placement. I don't buy into that. I think that's just a nice little soundbite. But the other one is, you'll know when it's time. I don't agree with that one either. This disease progresses so differently for everyone that has it. And, you know, some people thrive in a home, and some people are neglected, and I just think that it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So go with your gut. My gut says to keep my wife home and daycare, that flip-flopping 3 times a week, I think the change of scenery is good for her and it's good for me. Because another thing, let's think this through. Let's say that I decided to place my wife into memory care. So let's think this through. Let's say that I did decide to place my wife in a memory care home and continue working. Okay, so I'm not having to take her to daycare. I'm not having to drop her off and pick her up. I have someone to look after her at night as well as during the day. You know, the cost of her care basically quadruples going from adult daycare to memory care. And if she needs skilled nursing, it basically quintuples, which basically means 5 times higher, okay? But, so there's that aspect of it, but let's just leave that part out for a moment. And let's really think this through. Okay, I don't have to drop her off and pick her up. So I'm still only working in the office 3 days a week. I'm working from home twice a week. Well, if I wanted to, I could go into the office every day. I could. But when I would come, I wouldn't be picking her up after work anymore. I'd be going straight home. Are you following me here? The house would be empty. I mean, yeah, she has dementia, and yes, it's difficult, but I'd come straight home, and I'm not making her dinner anymore. I'm not helping her. I'm not talking to her, even though she doesn't understand me. The house is empty. It's quiet. I go to bed at night. She's not there. I get up in the morning. I'm not having to change her tenna overnight, pull-ups anymore. I mean, that's a good thing. I don't really enjoy doing that, but I make breakfast for myself instead of both of us. I drive straight to work instead of dropping her off at the daycare and saying hi to everybody there. And they say hi to her, and everybody embraces her. And I think that's the reason I haven't done it yet. I would miss her. I mean, if it gets to the point where I have to place her because I can't physically take care of her, or I'm breaking down mentally, or work isn't cooperating with me anymore, whatever. There's a million reasons why I might have to place her. But I know all of you caregivers listening out there that have struggled with the decision about placing your loved one now or later or ever. You may be the only people on earth that can identify with everything I'm saying. It's back and forth, pros and cons, waffling back and forth. Place her now, make a plan to place her later and draw out a schedule, or play it by ear, which is kind of what I'm doing, one day at a time. Let's go take a look at the river here. This is actually kind of a little, it looks like a lake, but I think it's part of the Merrimack River. But yeah, you guys listening here, you're not the only one struggling with this decision. And listening to all the sound bites and advice from other people and medical professionals and that, and more people probably advise you to place your loved one than not. And I'll tell you a reason for that, and then I'll let you all go. The reason for that is when you're talking to other people about your situation, when you're actually discussing it with people, you're probably a little bit stressed, or a lot stressed. And you're telling people the negative aspects of caregiving, how tiring it is, how hopeless everything seems, how you can't go anywhere, how you can't take a trip. And that's all they hear, so they're going to say, why don't you place your loved one in a home, and then you can have your freedom, or some measure of it. So just remember, when people are giving you that advice, they're giving it to you based on the feedback you're giving them about your experience. Anyway, this is Bill, 2001, on October 2nd, 2025, and I enjoy talking to you all. Have a good day.